Today we are doing the long-awaited Monarch 1-year review. Hey everyone, I waited a while to do this video because number one of my kids ended up doing school a month into summer. Number two, immediately we finished school, we started planning our summer vacation, which fell beginning of July-ish area. Now we're fixing to get back to doing school, and it's just kind of been a really busy summer for us. It's been a really good summer, but it's been a really busy summer. So it took me a while to get to this video, so first I apologize for that. I promised some of y'all I would try to get it as soon as school ended. Technically we did, just it kind of took us a little while. So if you haven't seen the reasons why we decided to switch to Monarch, I'm gonna link that video up here. We last year decided about March that we were switching from Abeka to Monarch. Abeka was no longer working for us, and I give all the reasons in that video. Please check that video out if you want to get a review of why we switched to Monarch. But today I want to focus on what was Monarch like for 1 whole year. The only grades I can specifically talk about are 4th, 6th, and 8th grade. I'm fixing to go into, 5th, 7th, and 9th. It's my first year of having 1 elementary, 1 middle school, and 1 high schooler. And it's my only year of having 1 in each of the 3 categories. I'm going to talk about how that looked for us for 4th, 6th, and 8th grade, and do I feel like my kids are ready for 5th, 7th, and 9th grade after doing a year of Monarch. One of the things that I absolutely loved about Monarch from the get-go was we sit down, and I usually take out a planner and I write out like my school schedule of how I want my days to go. I'm sure if you Google it somehow you can be like, hey, I want 180 days of school with weekends off and Christmas and holidays and all that. I don't know if you can or not. So what I usually do is I sit down with the planner and I write out, like, let's say we're starting on the 10th. So I say August 10th through 13th, because the 10th is Tuesday, but like 10th through 13th. And then over here off to the side I put, we'll say for you all, like August 10th through 13th. Side I put 4, so that way I know there's 4 school days. Then I put the next week, then I put the next week. As I'm looking at it, I actually have my personal calendar pulled up that I keep on my phone at all times. First, the Google Calendar. Second, I pull up our meal calendar. Third, I pull up our family budget. From those 3, I can look and be like, we're doing school this week, this week, this week, this week. For us, like even if we take like a week of vacation during the year, we school while we're on vacation. We may not be doing the Monarch curriculum, but we school it. So I'll still count off like 180 days and I'll count it that way. The awesome thing about Monarch is once I'm done with that method, I can go straight into Monarch and put my start date and my end date, and it makes the school year for me. And I can nickname the school year whatever I want it to be. I think for me, I'm boring. I just put 2021 to 2022 for this one that we just started. The other thing that helps with is now I can go to my calendar and at the top, it'll say how many days of school are left. So it double checks for me. So for Tennessee requirement, it's 180 days, 4 hours a day for above kindergarten. Kindergarten is only 2 hours a day. Some grade school, you can get away with 2 hours a day. For like public, or for like the higher grades, it's 4 hours a day to be counted as a homeschool day. At the top, it'll say 180 days. So it's like, okay, cool. So it's another way of checking it as well. But for me, like I still prefer writing it out that way because then I can enter in and play with the dates before I plug it into Monarch. The other thing I can do is Monarch allows you to change holidays. Last year, I think we did take Columbus Day off, but this year I decided that I didn't want to because I can use that as a day to focus on like American history or to do some kind of like field trip or something, and I count field trips as school days. I mean, most public schools do as well. I went in and changed that. I wanted it to be a school day. Instead, we took the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off because sometimes Matt and I will do food prep the day before. We like having that day off to just like clean the whole, even if we're not eating Thanksgiving dinner here at home, we can clean the whole house and have it ready for Thanksgiving weekend. And then once we're done having Thanksgiving with family, we usually put up our Christmas tree. So it's nice to kind of have that day to just be able to play with. But like you can do that. You can go through the Monarch calendar and be like, I want this day off, I want this day, I want to go ahead and do this day. And if you end up like you've taken more days off and you don't have enough to meet your state's criteria, then you can go back into the calendar and change your school year and add more days at the end of your school, beginning or end of your school year, and then it'll expand your time out. So that was another thing that I really liked, being able to do that. Also, we've already done that because with one of mine, we ended up having to take 2 weeks off school in December. Totally unexpected. She didn't want to have to cram to fit it in. The other 2 were fine with it, but one of them just like had a really hard time with like trying to cram all in. So she opted to do summer school. And I mean, seriously, if you ask her, she was fine with it. That's what she wanted, because then it broke it down into small lessons every day instead of like looking at your calendar and be like, oh, I have 20 lessons today. The other two, like I said, they did fine, but this one just like, she didn't want to do it that way. So we just went in the calendar, added extra days in, took a couple of extra days off because I mean, it's summer, and boom, it was done and it was all taken care of. So planning was definitely a big plus. Another big plus for me was it felt like with Abeka, we were constantly taking a stack of teacher keys with the stack of workbooks and constantly grading work over and over and over again. With Monarch, I absolutely love that we save time because they do 85% of the grading for you. I actually have seen people say this, please, please, please don't tell people this. Don't say that I told people this. Monarch does not grade 100% of the paperwork. They grade 85%. Everything that your child types out as a sentence into a box, you have to grade. Say they do a spelling bee. All of that's 100% because it's got an automatic spell check system and it works. That's already graded for you. So instead of having to grade like 20,000 spelling words and double checking that, you know, it's spelled right and all that, because I love spelling, but every now and then I'll be like, was that actually how that word was supposed to be spelled? So like I had, you know, that was a stressor for me. But now I don't have to worry about that. Like it grades it automatically. Now I can focus time on doing the paperwork with them. Another thing I love about Monarch is, like most people, like even when I was in school in middle and high school, they were switching to, you were typing out your essays. You didn't turn in handwritten essays anymore. And that was in the early 2000s. The fact that like kids don't do that nowadays, to me, Monarch teaching your child, Abeka wasn't, like they still wanted it written out. And like some of them, they wanted it written in the workbook as part of your work. But with Monarch, we're teaching our kids how to use a Google Doc, how to share a Google Doc, how to keep it private so that only you and who you share it with can have the link to it. And I can sit there on the Google Doc. They email me whenever I have a minute, because like if I'm in the middle of doing one-on-one math with a child, I can't help this child do one-on-one with a graded paper. But when I finish with math with this one, I can check my email and be like, oh, this child turned in a writing assignment. I can go into Google Docs, and then we've learned, like I've set like yellow as if you misspelled a word, because we turn their spell check off. That was a complaint I heard a lot of parents say was, well, my kid's Chromebook was auto spelling everything, so they were cheating on spelling. Just turn the spell check off. You go into the Google settings. You can Google how to turn that off. But go into their settings, turn the spell check off. So because of that, their docs also does not spell check 100% of the time. Or sometimes it spell checks the wrong word. I highlight yellow for like misspelled words. Then I have a special color for run-on. I have a special color for fragment sentences. I have a special one for this sounds like a copyrighted content, please reword this. And then we talk about that, copyright infringement. We've learned how to do MLA format of sharing links to web pages whenever you go for format. We've learned how to bookmark specific sources that they're allowed to use that are child friendly, that they can use when doing research. And they've learned how to do research papers a whole lot better. Abeka taught that. Monarch really helped them nail it down. The way that the Monarch system of doing it helped nail it down. Another complaint that I heard some people talk about was they were like, oh, Monarch's really cut and dry. I really don't think so. I felt like with Monarch, there was a whole lot more real world teaching than Abeka was. It felt like Abeka was just like, I'm gonna dump all this on you. You know, there's 3 pages of review work for a chapter and maybe a third of this will actually be on the test. Whereas I feel like with Monarch, it actually teaches kids, you're gonna have to take note. You have to read, take notes on what you studied, then take those notes, study them, and do a quiz. Then they use those quizzes to study for the test. And I really feel like that has helped teach them more real world knowledge. Also, I felt like curriculum content had more real world knowledge and more hands-on activities than Abeka did. So one of the things that I love was like for 4th grade, I can't remember if it was science or history, but she was to make a scrapbook of different biomes for, I think, specifically the US. And then for another project with my 6th grader, we made a desert biome, and it was a hands-on, like you were to take sand and make a desert biome. There was one time we did a winter biome. There have been times that we've done experiments with acids and bases and wind and things. Abeka like had science experiments in there, but it also had like 10,000 pages of vocabulary, and most of it was not even on the test. And I've heard a lot of parents say this, and I don't fault any of you if you do this. Well, if you buy Abeka, you can choose how much you do or don't use. If I'm paying $1,000, and yes, $1,000 for one child for one school year, I am not throwing half of it away and refusing to use it. I literally feel like I'm throwing $500 away if I'm literally not using $500 worth of the curriculum. Some people are like, well, I don't mind doing that. I do. We like to use our extra budget to travel and take them on field trips and go to destinations around the world. And we have more destinations that we have planned, stuff that even fits in with our curriculum this year. Like, we're already looking at like specific places to take them that tie in with our curriculum for this year. We've got a rising high schooler. She wants to be able to have more community service projects and things. If she's spending 5 hours, literally in 7th grade, spent 5 hours one day on vocabulary that, oh, she only needed to do half, then she's wasting time that she could have spent 1 hour doing the review and then 4 hours doing that community service project that she's passionate about and reaching out to her community. I would rather my child have a heart for reaching out to community than spending 5 hours on vocabulary. So like, again, I'm not like, if that's your thing and you're okay with doing that, you rock that. But that's not where we are. I was not going to literally spend $1,000 on books and throw half of them away. That was not what I wanted to do. And I know some parents are like, well, we just pick and choose. But like, I felt like if I was picking and choosing, that would be like, oh, this is gonna be on there and you'll need this. So go ahead and memorize this because I'm just going ahead and telling you what's on the quiz and test. And I don't do that. Like, even with the kids with Monarch, there's times that I've had them repeat tests, and that's one of the other things that or quizzes. That's one of the things I love about Monarch. Because the quizzes are used to study for the test, there's sometimes I'm just like, you know, I really feel like you need to retake this quiz, and you can reset it and let them take it, and they don't have to like reprint it out or write it out by hand. And there's sometimes that doing those, they were able to go back and be like, that's what I didn't get about that. This is what I need to do. And then they ace that test. And it was great. Like, you don't have to let them reset anything, but because we did that method, it was like, click. They got it so much better. So do I feel like it's dry and cut? No. Do I feel like it has more real world? Absolutely. Do I feel like there's plenty of hands-on? Oh yeah. I totally feel like there's more hands-on. You can actually take more hands-on out. Like, you can opt to. And if you take all the hands-on out, and you feel like it's dry and cut, maybe try adding more of that back in. Or another thing we do, we're travel vloggers. We recently talked about this in a video. One of our passions and goals is to teach our kids from real world. So if there's stuff that I feel like they're not getting in their curriculum, I mean, like, I know this may sound hypocritical what I just said about like not throwing away half the curriculum. If I feel like they're doing a history lesson and they're not getting it, or like they need more than what's given, I'm gonna go out of my way to be like, here's this video, here's this, here's that. I'm fine adding more in. My problem was if I'm paying so much and so much and so much and so much and throwing away half of it, then it felt like a waste of money. I'm fine with adding more in, like spending this much, and then if I need to add free resources in. I hope that makes sense. If not, I'll try to clarify more of that in the comments below. That's kind of where we are. It's like, I don't feel like it's dry cut, and I don't feel like, you know, my kids are missing out on anything. Some people keep asking me, how does it compare to public school? I have no idea. I honestly don't. My kids have never been in public school. I was in public school where we live currently, and they weren't teaching near as much hands-on. Like I said in one video, I had like a 5th grade teacher who was extremely hands-on, and I learned more from her because she let me learn the way I needed to learn with more hands-on and less, I'm gonna keep you in school for 8 hours and then send you home with 4 hours of homework to do at home. I never wanted that for my kids. So my kids have never been in public school. I know as related to public school when I was a kid here, Monarch is above and beyond. It's different for every state, and I've heard moms say that. I know a mom who moved her kids from Michigan to Alabama. Michigan was a higher standard than Alabama was. Just saying. Like, you can look it up. It's proof, there's records, it just is. Every single state is different. Every single county is different. Every single school is different. Do I still think Monarch is above grade level for where we live? Yeah. Do I still love where we live? Absolutely. Schools were not one of my favorite things, but we homeschool, so that's not a problem. We love everything else about living here, and we homeschool. So Monarch overall, we absolutely loved it. I feel so confident that my daughter is going to have everything she needs to go into 9th grade this year. My first year teaching a high schooler, and I'm not stressed about it. Honestly, with Abeka, I was actually having sincere anxiety and minor panic attacks thinking about the fact that my child was going into high school and I was not prepared to teach her high school with Abeka. But with Monarch, I have so much ease with doing it. And to even back that up, my umbrella school, my new umbrella school, we just switched umbrella schools because I needed one that was more supportive for high school, and we have one that is now, actually gives discounts because they encourage people to use Alpha Omega, because they have found that it helps prepare kids better for high school going into college. Because at the moment she's looking at a college track. She's going to be doing more of like a pay-as-you-go college track, and it's not like a traditional college, but we'll talk about that later. It's, you know, if she still has 4 years, it may change between now and then, but currently what she's looking at, that's what it is. So overall, do I feel like Monarch was the best choice for us? Absolutely. I love the fact that I don't have to carry 10,000 books anymore. I can bring a Chromebook, 2 or 3 floppy folders, mechanical pencils, and travel journals every single time we go anywhere, and the kids have everything they need. I already know what some of you are going to say, but it's all online. Yes, it's all online. We constantly monitor what our kids are doing, and we check their thing. And if they even go onto a YouTube video without permission during school, they get privileges taken away. We only had that happen like once or twice per child. So is that a problem? No. If we don't have internet where we're going and the kids need internet to do their school, you can print out Monarch assignments. People don't know that. You can actually print them out on screen. We've actually printed tests out before, because one of ours was like, I don't get this. So I printed out her math test or her math quiz and was like, this is the problem you missed. Show me step by step how you did this. And she was like, well, I didn't write it out. And or I didn't write it out like this. And so I had her write it out on the test. She's like, oh, that made more sense. So yeah, you can print them out. So like if you need to, you can print it out. Otherwise, like we may just do like some fun schooling instead. And we'll do like, when we travel, sometimes we have the kids record miles and then do like from miles to kilometers. We have them keep up with their own financial budget for the trip of how much spending money they have spent. We do historical documentation of what historical things we learned from each destination. We have them journal a favorite thing, a memorable thing, and something that they learned from that trip, like in journals. So that has like creative writing, math, science, history, has all language, all of that in it. I mean, if you don't have internet, of course, Monarch's probably not going to work for you. There's other methods you can do. I think switched on Schoolhouse, maybe. I don't remember. One of them you can do flashcards. But overall, how do we feel like a Monarch works for us? It was the best decision we've made. I'm so glad we don't have to keep up with so many books now. It grades most of the work for us, which gives us more time to do more of the hands-on stuff that we always wanted to do. I never felt like I had enough time after grading so many pages of Abeka to do those hands-on science. Now we do. You may be able to do this with Abeka, but I never actually saw if we could. Like I was able to order the full-on science kits for my rising 5th and 9th grader. The 7th grade did not have kits this year. They don't need kits. They're doing more like journaling science this year versus hands-on science, which she's still cool with that. She loves journaling because also like I let her draw like specific plants and she loves like drawing. So it's a whole lot more convenient. I can just let them upload it. Their thing is already planned out for them for the day. If we need to move something, we can. It's not a big deal. So that's how we feel at the end of the year. We are still super happy with the decision we made. We feel like it was the perfect decision for us to switch to Alpha Omega Publishing's Monarch. We feel like our kids have learned so much more this year and more hands-on. There were things that fell through the gaps with Abeka that they didn't learn. They are now learning how to do negatives. They're learning how to do, I think integers and negatives are the same thing some places. They're learning how to use number lines. They're learning how to do more creative writing. And there's so much more time that it has allowed us to have of me not having to grade every single thing and having all of it already planned out. Like I said, there's sometimes we still rearrange it. I've enjoyed it so much more, and I love the more real world and hands-on method of teaching that Monarch has given. Again, if it's not working for you, try having your kids take notes while they do it. See if maybe you can just rearrange some of the assignments. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. But overall, we were super happy with Monarch this year. We're so happy that we switched to it. They don't sponsor this video currently at all right now. Again, everybody had asked, like, how did it work for a year? We loved it. I am not currently at this time planning on switching back to Abeka. We are going into 5th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade with Monarch. I will, I might see if my teen is okay with me doing a video. We always ask them before we do videos that contain their personal information of, like, if she wants to talk about what subject she's doing. We bought 1 or 2 electives for her for this year, and then we're also doing something new this year. High school requires 150 hours of physical education, and we're going to be doing something really cool with that. So we may share that in another video. This is mostly just focusing on Monarch. Did we like it? What do we think? And I hope that gave you plenty of information and showed you our opinions of how we feel about it. But again, let us know in the comments below. Like I said, I know some of you were not a huge fan of it after you tried it, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. And I tell people that. I tell people all the time, I'm like, some of you are like 5 a.m. Homeschoolers, and you can totally rock that and be done by 9 a.m. You go do that. Do your thing. That's awesome. Some of you are late night homeschoolers. I know a mom personally, one of my really good friends, who homeschools her kids at night because that allows her kids to sleep in and to be able to participate in sports. You go rock that. That's awesome. This is where me and my family currently are. Monarch was the best choice for us because it gave us the freedom to choose how we homeschooled and felt like we were actually getting our money's worth of homeschooling and not wasting money on things that they're not going to need to learn. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We've got so many cool back to school videos coming up, how we get the cleaning done before, how some shopping things that we're doing ahead of time before going, or things that we're going to purchase for digital homeschooling, and some travel schooling stuff. Some of you have been asking about how we're doing travel schooling after we showed some travel schooling in our last vacation video. So cool, we've got some of that coming up. But thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.